What's up guys, Nathan here. Today I want to share with you the simple poker strategy that skyrocketed my poker winnings, and I think it will for you too. Alright, so this all boils down to a 3-step process for me, and I'm going to break it down for you in this video step by step, 1, 2, 3, so let's jump right into it. Step number 1. We need to understand where the money comes from in poker. This is a big mistake that I find a lot of people making these days, is they kind of get confused about where the profit actually comes from in poker. Let's talk about where it doesn't come from first. It doesn't come from tight, regular players. It doesn't come from those guys that are sitting around waiting for their aces and their kings and trying to set mine you and all that stuff. The money doesn't come from them. They don't make big fundamental mistakes. They're only in there when they have a really strong hand, and when they don't have a good hand, they just fold. So they're not making a lot of big mistakes. Therefore, they're not going to hand you a lot of money. The money in poker, the profit from poker, also does not come from strong, tricky players. You know, those loose and aggressive regulars that you're probably familiar with, the tight and aggressive players, all of the good players that you've seen on YouTube videos and on TV at the final table and so on. Guys, the profit does not come from good, solid, advanced level poker players like that, because they're good poker players. They don't make a lot of mistakes. So where does the money come from in poker? Well, you already guessed it. It comes from the fish. You know, the politically correct term, of course, these days, recreational poker players. I kind of use them interchangeably. Maybe I'm not so politically correct yet. But guys, honestly, you can just go ahead and check your poker tracker database. I've used this program for 10 years, talk about it all the time. There's links in the description below, and you can go see the data for yourself. If you play online poker, that is. You can go see who are the players that are losing the most, who are you winning the most against, and the evidence is clear. It's in your face. You can't deny it. You get to see for yourself where the vast majority of your profit comes from. All right, so now that we've understood that, let's move on to step number 2. So now that we know where the money comes from in poker, what do we want to do? We want to make sure that one of these players, recreational players, fish, is always at our table at all times. I should have put it in here, but if you're using a poker tracker HUD, for example, look for players, and you're playing online poker, look for players who have a VPIP of 40% or more. Basically what that means in non-nerd terms is that's the percentage of hands that somebody plays, VPIP. So if you're playing live poker or on an online site that doesn't allow HUDs, that's fine. Just look for players that are playing, a lot of their hands. Like they're in there, it seems like they play at least 50% of their hands. Guaranteed that's a recreational player. So when you see a player like that, yes, you always want them on your table. Ideally, you want to get the seat to the left of them if there is any chance of that possible. If you can't do it, that's okay. Still sit at the table. I've talked about on my blog for many years and a couple of my books as well that I often go to the tables, especially online, where there's only a couple people seated, at a 6-max table, full ring, it doesn't matter. If there's only 3 players there and I spot a recreational player, there's going to be 6 other empty seats, and often one of the empty seats is the one right to the left of the recreational player. So why is this so important? By the way, it's often called the Jesus seat. Why is it so important? Because when you're on the left of any player in poker, you can literally turn on the money printer, because you're going to have a direct position on them in every single hand except the one hand per orbit when you are in the small blind and they are on the button. But the vast majority of hands, you have direct position on them. This is a massive, mathematically proven statistical advantage in poker. You're going to get to act after them on every single street. That's going to allow you to get more value when you have a big hand. It's going to allow you to see what they do first, and maybe you want to make a bluff because you already have that information. Maybe they're acting really strong and you believe them, and you can fold and get away from your hand cheaper. I think you guys get the idea. When you have to act first in poker, you're always operating in the dark. You don't know what they're going to do first, and therefore the person that is in position is always in the driver's seat in poker. And you put 2 equally skilled players at the same table and give one position over the other one on every single hand, the one who has the position is going to crush the equally skilled poker player over the long run. So I think you guys can already see where we're going here. We're looking for the weakest poker players at the table, recreational poker players, and we're getting the best seat against them as well. We're trying to anyways, the seat directly to their left. If it's 2 seats to the left, 3 seats to the left, that's okay as well. I think you guys get the idea. Now what you want to do is you want to play tons of speculative hands versus these players. Now of course we're going to play all of our good hands, you know, ace king, you know, lots of nice suited connectors, jack 10 of diamonds or whatever, you know, suited aces, ace 3 of diamonds, something like that. You know, all of the regular hands that you play, absolutely. But you also want to add in a bunch of, you know, quote unquote trash for some people, but I don't call it trash. I call these speculative hands, hands like, for example, the lovely 10-7 of hearts, the beautiful 9-6 of spades, or the always clever jack 4 of diamonds. Now again, these are not hands that I'm typically playing against, you know, the regular good opponents that I already talked about. I'm playing these hands specifically to get in more pots against recreational players, especially when I have position on them. And often if I'm just brand new to the table, I'm gonna be raising them with these hands, re-raising them in an attempt to put them on tilt, or at least just get involved in more hands. Because guys, how do you win against a recreational player? You don't win by folding pre-flop. You can't win in poker when you fold pre-flop. So you want to get involved in as many hands as possible, and believe me, when you're in position against a weaker player like this, you're going to be able to win more pots with these hands because you don't need to have the nuts. You know, often we know these players are going to call you down with bottom pair and stuff like that. So if you got the old jack 4 of diamonds and you nail the jack on the flop, often you can get 2, sometimes even 3 streets of value if they're on tilt. Let's move on to step number 3. So step number 3, continuing on with what I was just talking about, is to bet big for value. You want to do the majority of your bluffs in the beginning when they're going to give you the most credit, but once you get involved with them, hopefully you've, you know, irritated them a little bit at this point, but with all your constant raising and re-raising, now you've got them focused on you. Now they're, you know, trying to get back at you and so on. So now you want to transition your betting to simply value. What do I mean by value? I'm talking about hands where you have at least middle pair, top pair, maybe a pair plus a flush draw. I think you guys understand what I'm talking about. Made hands, stuff that has actual real showdown value. You're not trying to run big bluffs against them, because we don't do that against players who are calling stations, who are gonna, you know, call us down with anything. So what you want to do against these players is just simply hammer on them again and again. And honestly, guys, just watch the money pour in. I have used this strategy countless times at the poker tables over the years, and while it doesn't always work out in every single session, obviously recreational players are going to get lucky against you sometimes, the majority of the time the math is in my favor. I am in position against them, and I'm against a player who does not play a very optimal strategy, let's put it that way. And quite frankly, I get on their nerves. You know, I put them on tilt, and they often just start calling me down with their bottom pair with their ace high, and it's as simple as getting in there with some junky hand like jack 4 suited, hitting your jack and just winning pot after pot after pot. Guys, bottom line, there is no more profitable situation at the poker table than being on the left of a fish, a recreational player. And if you can get them on tilt, you can literally, you're like the Federal Reserve. You just turn on that money printer and it's just, you know, we're partying like it's 2019 again. So guys, honestly, it's a really simple strategy overall. Understand where the money comes from in poker. Get on the left of the players where the money comes from in poker, and then bluff them a little bit in the beginning, try to get in there with as many hands as possible, and then just bet big for value. Still just get involved in as many pots against these players as possible. I know they're going to get lucky sometimes, and it is frustrating. You have to learn how to deal with that. I've got tons of mental game videos on this channel and in my books teaching you how to deal with that. But guys, bottom line, use this simple 3-step strategy, and I think you're going to start seeing much better poker results, much better poker winnings. If you guys want to see more poker strategy videos like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also shove all in on that like button below. And finally, I will leave a copy of my free poker cheat sheet that is called Massive Profit at the Micros. That'll be the top link in the description below. That'll give you my entire strategy to start beating all player types in all situations in small and mid-stakes games. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.